The kiss wasn't supposed to happen. Not in the middle of their most heated argument yet, not with his career hanging by a thread, and certainly not when Olivia Chen was the last woman on earth Marcus Taylor thought he'd ever fall for. But sometimes life's greatest turning points arrive disguised as disasters. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us how love can find us in the most unexpected places. Marcus Taylor stared at the blinking cursor on his computer screen, the quarterly report still unfinished at 11:47 p.m. His eyes burned from exhaustion, but he couldn't stop now. The babysitter had already stayed 3 hours longer than planned, and he'd promised to pick up Emma's science project materials before the stores closed tomorrow. Somehow, between being a single father to a precocious 8-year-old and working under the most demanding boss in Chicago's financial district, he was barely keeping his head above water. His phone buzzed with a text from Olivia Chen, his boss. Report status? Marcus sighed, typing back, almost done. Sending by 1 a.m. 3 dots appeared immediately. Not good enough. Needed for 7 a.m. meeting. No excuses. He fought the urge to throw his phone across the room. 6 months working under Olivia, and not once had she acknowledged his impossible situation, balancing single parenthood with her relentless demands. The promotion to senior financial analyst had seemed like a blessing after his wife's death 2 years ago. The salary increase meant Emma could stay in her school, surrounded by friends who helped her through the worst of her grief. But working directly under Olivia Chen was proving to be a nightmare he hadn't anticipated. The babysitter texted next, Mr. Taylor, Emma had a bad dream. She's asking for you. His heart sank. Emma's nightmares had returned recently, always about her mother, always leaving her tearful and clingy the next day. The report would have to wait. On my way, he replied, shutting his laptop. The next morning, Marcus rushed into the office at 6:58 a.m., dark circles under his eyes, his tie slightly askew. The report was complete but not as polished as he'd wanted. Emma had taken hours to settle back to sleep, curled against his side, her small hand clutching his t-shirt. Olivia was already in the conference room, her sleek black dress and perfect posture making her look like she'd stepped out of a business magazine cover. At 35, she was the youngest division head in the company's history, known for her brilliant strategic mind and complete lack of patience for anything she deemed inefficient, including personal problems. Cutting it close, Taylor, she said without looking up from her tablet. The report's ready, he said, sliding it across the table. She flipped through it quickly, her expression darkening. This is subpar work. The Henderson projections are incomplete. I can explain. Save it for after the meeting. Her voice was ice. Don't make me regret promoting you. The meeting was brutal. Twice, Olivia pointed out flaws in his analysis in front of the executive team. By the time it ended, Marcus's humiliation had hardened into anger. He followed her back to her office, closing the door behind them. You didn't have to undermine me like that, he said, struggling to keep his voice level. Olivia turned, one perfectly shaped eyebrow raised. I expect excellence, Marcus. You haven't delivered it in weeks. I've been working 16-hour days. And yet the results are mediocre at best. She crossed her arms. This isn't a charity. If you can't handle the position. Handle the position? His control snapped. Do you have any idea what my life is like? I'm doing the work of 2 people here while raising an 8-year-old who still cries for her mother at night. Your personal circumstances aren't my concern, she replied coldly. That's the problem, isn't it? Nothing human concerns you. The team calls you the Ice Queen, you know. They wonder if you even have a heart. Something flickered in her dark eyes, hurt, perhaps, or anger, but it vanished so quickly he might have imagined it. I didn't get where I am by coddling people's feelings, she said. This is business. It's also life. Real people with real struggles work for you, but you're too focused on your precious career to notice or care. Her face flushed. You know nothing about me or what I've sacrificed. I know you're impossible to please and impossible to work with. I know you've never once asked about Emma or acknowledged that I'm doing my best under impossible circumstances. Your best isn't good enough, she shouted, stepping closer. Then fire me, he challenged, not backing down. Go ahead. Find someone else who'll tolerate your impossible standards and complete lack of humanity. They were inches apart now, both breathing hard, the tension between them electric and dangerous. Marcus had never seen her lose control like this, her perfect composure cracked, revealing something raw underneath. And then, without warning, Olivia grabbed his tie, pulled him down to her level, and kissed him. It was fierce and unexpected, a collision rather than a caress. For one stunned moment, Marcus froze. Then, to his own shock, he was kissing her back, his anger transforming into something else entirely. When they broke apart, they stared at each other in mutual disbelief. Olivia stepped back, touching her fingers to her lips. For the first time since he'd known her, she seemed completely at a loss. That was inappropriate. I apologize. Before he could respond, she grabbed her purse and walked out, leaving Marcus alone in her office, his world tilted on its axis. The next morning, Marcus dropped Emma off at school, his mind still replaying yesterday's kiss. He hadn't heard from Olivia after she'd left, and he had no idea what to expect at work. Daddy, you're not listening, Emma complained, tugging at his hand. Sorry, sweetheart. What did you say? I said Ms. Rodriguez wants to talk to you about my science project. She says I need more help with it. Marcus winced. Another thing he was failing at. I'll email her today, okay? And we'll work on it this weekend, I promise. Emma's small face was serious as she studied him. Are you going to lose your job? I heard you talking to Uncle Jake about your mean boss. His heart sank. No, honey. Things are just complicated at work right now. Is that why you look sad? I'm not sad, he lied, forcing a smile. Just thinking about grown-up stuff. Emma didn't look convinced, but she hugged him goodbye before running to join her friends. Marcus watched her go, the familiar guilt settling in his chest. Since Sarah's death, he'd been both mother and father, and most days he felt inadequate at both roles. At the office, Olivia's assistant informed him that Miss Chen was working from home today. Relief and disappointment warred within him. He'd spent half the night rehearsing what to say to her, and now he'd have to wait. Around noon, his phone rang with an unknown number. Marcus Taylor, he answered. It's Olivia. Her voice sounded different, less commanding, almost hesitant. Can you meet me? Not at the office. There's a cafe on Lakeshore Drive called Horizon. 4 o'clock. I have to pick up Emma at 3:30. A pause. Bring her. Before he could recover from his surprise, she'd hung up. Horizon Cafe was a small place with a stunning view of Lake Michigan. Marcus spotted Olivia immediately, sitting at a corner table by the window. She wore jeans and a simple blue sweater. He'd never seen her in anything but formal business attire before. The casual clothes made her look younger, more approachable. Emma clutched his hand tightly as they approached. Is that your boss? She whispered. She's pretty. Yes, that's Ms. Chen, he replied, suddenly nervous. Olivia stood as they reached the table. Thank you for coming, she said formally, then looked down at Emma. And you must be Emma. I've heard a lot about you. Emma tilted her head. Really? Daddy never talks about you. Marcus winced, but to his surprise, Olivia laughed, a genuine sound he'd never heard from her before. Smart and honest. I like that, she said, gesturing for them to sit. I ordered hot chocolate for you, if that's okay. Your dad mentioned once that you love it. Marcus blinked. He'd mentioned Emma's hot chocolate preference months ago, in passing. He hadn't thought Olivia was even listening. Emma beamed. With whipped cream? And chocolate sprinkles, Olivia confirmed. As Emma happily accepted her drink from the server, Olivia turned to Marcus. I owe you an explanation. And an apology. You don't. I do, she interrupted. What happened yesterday was unprofessional. But it made me realize some things I've been avoiding. She took a deep breath. 5 years ago, I was engaged. He was a surgeon with an equally demanding schedule. We kept postponing the wedding because of our careers. Then he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. He died 8 months later. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Olivia, I had no idea. No one at work does. I took 2 weeks off, then came back and buried myself in work. I convinced myself that personal connections were liabilities, that success was the only thing that couldn't be taken from me. She looked out at the lake. I've been the boss I thought I needed to be, demanding, uncompromising, focused only on results. The Ice Queen, Marcus said softly. She nodded. Yesterday, when you called me out, you were right. I've been impossible. And unfair, especially to you. Emma, who had been quietly sipping her hot chocolate, suddenly spoke up. My mom died too. Daddy says it's okay to be sad sometimes, but we have to keep living because that's what she'd want. Olivia's composure cracked, her eyes filling with tears. Your daddy is very wise, she said, her voice thick. Marcus reached across the table and took Olivia's hand. We all cope differently. But maybe we don't have to do it alone. Over the next few weeks, something shifted between them. At work, Olivia remained professional but with a new awareness of her team's needs. She implemented flexible hours for parents and created a mentorship program she asked Marcus to help design. For his part, Marcus found himself looking forward to their meetings, noticing small changes in her, the occasional smile, the way she actually listened when people spoke, how she'd started bringing coffee for the team on Monday mornings. One evening, as he was preparing to leave, Olivia appeared at his desk. I have tickets to the Children's Science Museum this weekend, she said, sounding almost shy. Emma mentioned her project is on marine ecosystems. I thought maybe she'd like to see the new ocean exhibit. If that's okay with you, of course. Marcus studied her face, the face he'd once thought cold and unfeeling, now open and hopeful. Are you asking my daughter on a date? He teased. Actually, she said, meeting his eyes, I'm asking both of you. The museum date led to a picnic in the park, which led to Olivia helping Emma with her science project, which led to dinner at Marcus's apartment, Emma proudly showing Olivia her collection of rocks and seashells. She likes you, Marcus said later, after Emma had gone to bed and they stood washing dishes side by side. I like her too, Olivia replied. She's extraordinary. Like her father. He turned to face her. What are we doing, Olivia? She set down the dish towel. I'm not sure. I just know that for the first time in 5 years, I'm not running from how I feel. And how do you feel? Instead of answering, she kissed him, not the desperate clash of their first kiss, but something softer, full of possibility. 6 months later, the office had transformed. Under Olivia's new leadership style, productivity had actually increased while turnover decreased. The Ice Queen nickname had faded into a distant memory. At home, Emma had blossomed with Olivia in their lives. They spent weekends exploring the city, evenings helping with homework, and nights talking about the future, a future that suddenly seemed brighter than Marcus had dared to hope for after Sarah died. It wasn't perfect. They argued sometimes, about work boundaries, about parenting approaches, about the pace of their relationship. But now their arguments ended with understanding rather than anger, with compromise rather than demands. One night, after Emma was asleep, they sat on Marcus's balcony, looking at the city lights. "I have something to tell you," Olivia said, her voice serious. Marcus felt a flicker of anxiety. "What is it?" "I've been offered a promotion. Executive Vice President." "Olivia, that's amazing. It's what you've been working toward for years." She nodded. "It would mean more responsibility. More hours, at least initially." "We'll make it work," he assured her, squeezing her hand. "There's more," she continued. "I've been thinking about us, about what I want my life to be. Before Emma, success was everything to me. Now." She took a deep breath. "Now I know there are more important things." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you, Marcus Taylor. You and Emma. And I want to build a life with you both, if you'll have me." Marcus felt his heart expand. "Are you proposing to me, Miss Chen?" She laughed. "I'm proposing that we stop pretending we're just dating. I'm proposing that we acknowledge what we've become, a family." He pulled her close. "Emma will be thrilled. She's been asking when you're going to move in permanently." "Smart kid," Olivia murmured against his lips. "She gets that from her father," he teased. "No," Olivia said seriously. "She gets it from both her parents. Sarah will always be her mother. But I hope, someday, she might have room in her heart for me too." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "There's already room. Just as there's room in mine." 1 year to the day after their first kiss, Marcus stood in their new home, a house with a yard where Emma could play, with an office where Olivia could work from home 2 days a week, a boundary she now fiercely protected, and with a future stretching before them full of possibility. Emma was helping Olivia plant flowers in the garden, both of them laughing as they got dirt on their clothes. The sight filled Marcus with a joy he'd thought he'd never feel again after Sarah died. His phone buzzed with a text from Jake, "How's life with the Ice Queen?" Marcus smiled as he typed back, "There is no Ice Queen. Just Olivia. And she's teaching me how to live again." He watched as Emma threw her arms around Olivia's neck, as Olivia hugged her back without hesitation, as they both looked up and waved for him to join them. Sometimes life's greatest gifts come disguised as its greatest challenges. Sometimes the person who seems impossible to work with becomes impossible to live without. And sometimes, in the middle of your darkest argument, a kiss can change everything. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories about love, second chances, and finding family in unexpected places. Share in the comments if you've ever had a relationship that started with conflict but blossomed into something beautiful.